This is IAQ Radio, Indoor Air Quality Radio, the voice of the indoor air quality industry, with your hosts, Radio Joe Hughes and the Z-Man, Cliff Zlotnick. And now, Radio Joe Hughes.
Good day and welcome to IAQ Radio Plus. It's episode 722. This week we welcome Pete Consigli, John Isaacson, and the Z-Man, Cliff Zlotnick, or the Word of Life Church case study in Cape Coral, Florida, from severe wind and water damage to commercial roof. Getting paid in the Sunshine State is not easy. You got some notes on that one? That's Ken Siders, by the way, who's also been on the show.
Yeah, I think that they provide a very unique service, which is, they go in and they assess a building from the foundation to the roof. And I think it served them well on this particular project. And they document cause and effect, and they investigate both pre-existing and latent damage conditions. One of the other takeaways was you have to consider your clients very carefully, because if you're having problems at the beginning of the job with the client, that's a pretty strong indication that you're going to have problems at the end of the job with the client. One of the things I thought was brilliant was that they were working in Florida and they utilized an office in California to handle all of their paperwork, the estimates and the office stuff. And then they went even further away. They went to Hawaii, and they would send all this information from the office to Hawaii, because there were these delays, from the East Coast to the West Coast, it's 3 hours. And I don't know what is another 5 hours from the West Coast to Hawaii. So they were actually able, by doing that, to have estimates ready to deliver and documents ready to deliver the following morning, which probably no one else would have been able to do. The importance of good documentation and record keeping, because one of the things that they didn't realize was there was a foam, 3 inches of foam underneath the roof. That foam actually was holding a tremendous amount of water, and they were actually drying the inside of the building with desiccant dehumidifiers, and some of the building materials were actually getting wetter as they went. And there was actually a meeting within the building, and all of a sudden it was like a hose was in the ceiling and wetting everything. And they were able to, because they had the documentation, they were able to go back and prove what had actually happened. But those were some of my takeaways.
I think Ken talked a little bit about that project on the show he was on with us too, Cliff.
Yes, he did. John?
Yeah, I think, what did he say? Don't do spot inspections. You got to think of the building as a machine, and then set up zones so that you can, part of his presentation was just kind of the methodology that they used to make sure that they got as complete of a picture as possible. I think his comment on the client, I never regretted a job that I didn't get, but there are plenty that I regretted taking on. So yeah, pay attention to those red flags. And I did think it was really interesting. I think comments to people that start doing storm work, especially if they're new to it, is set up an anchor, so maybe that first project, once you restore it or are in the process of, use that as a base of operations for your team. And then, like you said, Cliff, but I think even that's that application for storm work is what a lot of companies are using, is centralizing certain operations. So not every office needs to have maybe an estimator or somebody that's doing the program compliance, but you can streamline some of that to help even your daily operations, not just storm operations. So that was good.
About John Bachman, Business Development Advisor, Violand Management, the state of the industry on software integration and best practices for estimating and documentation in the property restoration and insurance damage repair industry, a huge topic in this current era.
Yep. I think that one of the cool things about Josh is that he spoke about this from a software development perspective. He had some experience actually in developing some software for a company for whom he worked. So, he kind of had hands-on experience with it. He talked about a maturing industry, talked about market saturation and oversaturation with software. He said there's just so much software. And he said there's one solution versus specialization. that, you know, some software is the jack of all trades, but doesn't do any of them really, really well. And then you can have specialized software that does one thing, but does it really, really well. And he said, does integration really exist? And then he talked about CoreLogic and Circle PSA, the data hub. And he said that an influx of capital into these products hasn't really improved the products. He says there's confusion, there's frustration, and that software technology is not a destination. He said it's something to work towards. He said yesterday's differentiator is today's commonplace and tomorrow's left behind. And yeah, pretty
I don't know how you
stuff.
guys do it in the restoration world. There is so much new stuff out there, and it's mind-boggling to me. John?
Yeah, is it the 4 C's of documentation: consistent, clear, concise, and clean? It was a great presentation.
Melissa Hastings' perspective as a director of contract relations in TPA, I guess that's third-party groups, and then Ramona Gallagher. You guys got a couple quick comments on those?
Yeah, I do.
She was a public adjuster, by the way.
Melissa Hastings has a deep restoration background. You know, the family, she was in the restoration industry. Her family's been in the restoration industry for a long time. So she knows the restoration industry from the inside out. And she went to work for this company called Accuserve Solutions, which is a merger of several programs, Code Blue, you know, being one of them. And she has a different approach. You know, she wants to do the right thing for restoration companies because she was one, or she considers herself one. And I think she has a different perspective, and, you know, she's looking for input, and, you know, she's looking for people to get involved in their program to kind of try it out, and, you know, to build goodwill. You know, her job is to improve the contractor and policyholder experience. So that's a pretty good and exciting mission, I think. Let's see. You know, she's looking for more opportunities to work together with the restoration industry. She was a speaker down at RIA. You know, she was a speaker here. I think, you know, she's honest. She comes across, you know, very well and very sympathetic. So I think that, you know, I think she deserves a chance. And again, you know, like in every field, there's good guys and bad guys. And I think we need some good guys in these third-party programs. And maybe they're where it's at.
John?
Yeah, she seemed very optimistic. She seemed like, you know, she has a good vision and those kinds of things. I think she's got an uphill battle with that company in particular and the companies in the fold. So it'll be interesting to see how much change she can affect. The one comment I'll say that she did make, you know, a lot of people bag on TPAs. And if you look at the fee structure and those kinds of things, I believe she said it's one of the best marketing tools you can use as a contractor. And so if you view it from that standpoint, there's potentially some benefits there, which I thought was a good point. Made me think. So,
all right, Cliff, any more from that presentation?
Let's see. Was anyone else there?
Ramona Gallagher, Great Estates Inventory.
Yeah,
licensed public adjuster.
Yeah, I got stuff from Ramona. Yeah, her company's called Great Estates. She's a personal property expert. She's been around it for 40 years. Her background was originally in retail. I think she sold clothing and you know, high-end luxury items. So she's very, very familiar with that stuff. She got into the industry preparing inventories for clients and preparing them for public adjusters. And then she decided that she was going to become one. She mentioned that many of the known labels like Ralph Lauren or Hermes or et cetera have different qualities, Louis Vuitton, et cetera, that they have a good one, they have a better one, and they have a best one. And, it's from the tags, you can tell, which are which. The importance of being able to identify what you're dealing with. Is it a replica? Is it fake? Or is it real? And, there's a lot of handbags out there. Women spend just tremendous. I mean, they some women spend as much as a car costs on a day bag or a purse.
Wow.
So it's important to know. And ways you can tell is by looking at the zipper, poor stitching, the hardware, and so on and so forth. It's important to know who to call and when to call specialized experts. Some antiques have provenance. That's a little story that kind of goes along with them, the history of the item. Sometimes you need specialized appraisers, reasons for bringing in an expert. Part of her job is to prepare also a total loss inventory and to value that as well. So, determine restoration. And she doesn't do cleaning. She will get involved in like refinishing and, higher end, maybe reupholstering and that sort of stuff, but she really does not get involved in cleaning. She uses a subcontractor for that. She'll adjust that portion of the claim, represent the policyholder. It's important to understand, the insurance policy if you're acting, or if you're going to be a public adjuster, you have to understand the types of policies and the declaration page and the types of values and different types of coverages, et cetera. And, the approach is unique based upon each job that you would be doing.
John, you got anything to add?
I was looking back through, it was interesting. She had a diagram on, like you said, Cliff, the different, even brands, like say under Ralph Lauren. So knowing not every Ralph Lauren's the same, knowing the difference between the values in each of those items was important. It was good overall presentation, and we don't always think about contents and what,
Right.
the depth of that. So,
all right, let's wrap it up with Andrew Sall, the business interruption guy. Cliff, we just had Andrew on not too long ago.
Yeah, we did. And Andy talked about the invisible claim, which is business interruption, and the importance of situational awareness, threat recognition, action, and that time is valuable, and that a business interruption can be a hard claim, can be difficult to document, and while you're trying to do this, you're hemorrhaging cash because you don't have any money coming in. Your business is brought to a screaming halt. You have to be able to realize the threat based on the size of your business interruption claim, and that the insurance company will not pay business interruption without proper documentation. And and what he does is he has developed a proprietary model, and he takes your information and he interviews you, and he kind of understands your business and the ins and outs of it, and then he can enter these numbers into his model. He says the insurance companies do the same thing, but they just have a standard model, and it doesn't recognize the idiosyncrasies in one business versus another. And he talked about, I actually asked him about the molasses case, and where this molasses was in a storage tank at a facility that also stored fuels and oils, motor oils, and so on and so forth, and that they originally felt that the loss was going to be about $160,000, and the storage facility insurance company didn't realize that molasses is a food product, and that the tank that it was in was a special tank for holding food products, and that everything for transporting that material had to be, you couldn't use the standard piping and fittings and so on and so forth that they use to pump in and pump out motor oil or kerosene or petroleum products. And actually he ended up collecting close to $1 million for his client in that particular situation.
Wow.
And just by explaining why this had to be done. And he's a very interesting guy. So
John,
he's
go
in
ahead,
a little, no, I'm just saying he's in a little niche that
yes,
he fills very well.
John, anything you'd like to add?
I make the invisible visible so the claim can be quantified and compensated.
There you go.
Well said.